we just aren't heard now very well by downstate. And it's not that they're not good people and don't care. They do. Our people want to work. They don't want 40 hours a week. They don't want 8 hours a day. As my staff tell me, I don't want to sit home and watch TV. I'd rather come and work. We offer them extra hours if they want. They come and work. They don't want to sit home. They want to make all the money they can. We're having this press conference today because Senator Rasenhofer has arranged a meeting with to have Senator Ramos come up from Albany to talk with farmers and workers tomorrow at GCC about their farm labor bill that they are proposing, which would include collective bargaining and overtime for farm workers at over 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week. And so we're just here to give press and all of you, thank you for coming, and some farmers the heads up on what's going on and what it would do to the industry. If it went in place as they are now projecting, it would cost us over $120,000 additional labor expense per year. And it's over that. I don't know exact amount yet, but it's over that. We've gone through 3 years of very low milk price, with the last year being a disaster. I don't really know of any dairy farm that really made money last year. We're at a point where we're on a bare bones operation. We're not doing anything extra. We already are facing issues with labor due to the minimum wage increasing every year. Increase this year, it's going to increase to $12 an hour next year. That caused a compression of wages on our farm where every single employee got some type of raise because as the bottom comes up, everybody up the ladder has to come up. And so even though we didn't have the money, raises took place this year. We're at the point, I think, where this has the potential to be the single greatest economic devastating effect on agriculture in New York in my lifetime, if it goes into effect without being severely moderated, different than what is proposed. We, as a family, treat all our employees as family. We can't run this place without them. With 1,000 cows and 2,500 acres, we're already working 6 days a week, very long hours, and it's been that way my whole life. Without the employees here to help us, we won't survive. Our employees require a minimum 50 hours a week. We have some that want 65 to 70 hours a week. It's their option. We don't force anybody to work long hours. Other issues that are going to take place if this goes into effect. The governor has put in millions of dollars in tax money across the state for processing, dairy and others. There's an awful lot right in Batavia with the dairy processing facilities. All that is going to be put at risk. There's going to be a lot of farms over the few years that will go out of business because of this.
The jobs we do, the tasks we perform, are extremely time sensitive and affected by the weather each and every day. Labor is our largest individual expense, more than double that of any other line item. Under this legislation, labor costs will increase dramatically. I estimated approximately 15%. This will be extremely difficult for us to digest, as we can't walk into the grocery store and ask for more money and demand more money for what we produce. This is because we work in a global market, and we must compete with other apple growing states and other apple growing countries whose costs of production are already dramatically lower than what we have here today in New York State. Also, I'd like to point out that many of our workers that come here work for the harvest season. They know when they come here that there is a finite amount of fruit to be harvested, and it has to take place in a specific window of time. Those employees want to work as much as they can because they require they require that income in order to maintain themselves the rest of the year in their home country. They don't want to be sitting at home over the weekend because of the 40-hour limit. This legislative proposition would also allow workers to strike at any time. And I'm here to tell you that apples are a perishable crop, and I can't emphasize that enough. They have to be harvested on time. If apples are left in the orchard too long, they become soft and we're unable to store them. And in just a matter of a few days of becoming overripe, they can lose 50 to 75% of their original value. A strike during the harvest season would ultimately be catastrophic. As I look at it right now, we would reduce our production of fruits, as the higher cost of production would make growing certain varieties of apples and peaches unprofitable. This would result in fewer jobs offered. Worst case scenario, apple production becomes unprofitable, we would exit the business. We would bulldoze out our apple orchards and revert the ground back to field crop production, where that activity is highly mechanized and requires much less labor. I believe that many of the people behind this legislation have good intentions, but I do not believe it's going to be a plus for our employees. First of all, fewer hours equals lower pay, and no one's going to be happy if they have fewer dollars in their pocket. There seems to be an idea out there that farms are exempt from many of the labor laws, and that's just not true. Department of Labor comes out, they want to make sure that we're paying our employees properly and that they're treated fairly. As I stated previously, in 2018 we had 19 employees. I'd like to point out that 16 of those employees had been with me the previous year. We only had 3 new hires. More than half of our employees have been with us for 10 years or more, 3 of them for 25 or better. I can stand up here and tell you that I don't believe that I could make this kind of claim if agricultural work was oppressive, or if we offered a workplace that was disrespectful. In 1993, we hired a young couple who immigrated from Mexico. They are still with us today. Over the years, I've seen them work extremely hard and sacrifice to become permanent residents of this country. From there, they moved on to become citizens. Over the years, they've become homeowners. They've raised children who have graduated from high school, moved on to college, graduated, and the 2 oldest ones are now out starting families and careers of their own.
In starting with our impact on our farm, right now we understand the value of good employees. We do this by offering competitive wages, plus employer-paid health care, vacation, sick time, and retirement. Right now, our farm does offer overtime over 60 hours. Also, on our farm, we pay wages plus bonuses at the end of the year, which ends up being around $20 an hour when you get all done. If you add a new overtime cost, it would cost our farm an additional $200,000 a year. That $200,000 equates to an extra $32 a ton, or almost $1,000 an acre in our production costs. Which, if all states or growers are on the same level, we could pass our costs along like every other business. But because this is a state law, this puts us in a non-competitive position with other states. Increase in labor costs due to the new overtime rules, we will be no longer able to raise our vegetables. We'll have to move to a row crop only business or close our doors. In doing this, first off, we'll have to let the majority of our employees go. There will only be a need for 3 full-time employees, and we'll move to about 5 part-time workers, which would only be about 3 months of employment total. Think of the processing facilities that buy our products, like Bondelay, Farm Fresh, and Seneca Foods. They will have to close up or move more of their production to other states, which they already have some production there. This will happen because of the higher cost of production in New York State. There will be a damaging ripple effect throughout the agricultural supply chain.
And for the general public, I don't grow my vegetables or milk my cows to go and sell out in front of my house. I'm competing in a global marketplace. Right now, Canada has frozen their farm wages and there's no overtime. They're my main competitor for my vegetables across the United States. All the other states, their minimum wage, Pennsylvania's still only federal minimum wage, which is $7 1/4. I've got to compete with them in the marketplace. The other thing is bringing in H-2A workers. They want to go to the states where they can get the hours. We have a limited pool, even of visa workers. They're going to go work where they can get a minimum of 60 hours or more. I mean, it's the largest industry in New York State and still one of the largest industries in the country. But we're not recognized as the importance to the country, to the economy. We've got a mindset where people say, my food's coming from the grocery store. Well, they don't put the connect. How does it get to the grocery store? And so we've got a lot of education to do. We've got to recognize we've never told our story the way that we needed to tell. We don't tell, the jobs that we create. We have studies that show 3 to 4 jobs are created for every farm worker that we employ in our communities. And we need to work harder to connect the dots together.
Suppose you lived in New York City and the government declared that every day it rained you were not allowed to work, except emergency services only. You can do what you want, but you couldn't work. Stores, everything. What would happen when it quit raining? We already get 2-week periods where we get rain nonstop here. And at the end of the 2 weeks, everybody in New York City would be working terrible long hours to try to make up for that period they couldn't work. And if that happened, you would be sure overtime wouldn't be taking place down there because they couldn't afford it. We face this every year. We got periods of time we can't work, but you have to do it all, so you work longer hours when you can work. It's just, that's what agriculture is. I can't change that. I'm not Mother Nature. That's what this is. We have to farm according to what Mother Nature says we have to farm. It's not our choice. If we're going to do this business, you got to do it or leave. Albany is making rules that say don't follow Mother Nature, follow what they want you to do. And it literally is going to bankrupt us all.